everybody, Nutritionist Keith Klein here. I wanted to ask you a question, but before I do that, I hope you're beginning to realize that in Lean Body Coaching, we're not just about transforming your body, but we're also helping you transform the way you think about your life as well. Because I've always felt that a person cannot make a change in the physical side if they don't also make a change in the mental side. And that's why you see a lot of our work in Lean Body Coaching directing you to trying to change the way you think, hence better bad choices, don't slip the other 3 tires, and all that kind of stuff. So those kind of phrases and terms are meant to help you see how you can change the outcome when you have the binge or whatever, so it doesn't have to keep on going on and on. But one of the questions I want to ask you today is, are you being authentic? And by that, I mean, are you being real in all of your relationships? And this can be with family, friends, work cohorts, or whatever. But I think it's very important that you understand the more authentic you are, the more true you are to yourself, the easier your life will begin to flow. See, there's a lot of upset that can occur when you're constantly trying to please other people. And when somebody's constantly trying to please other people by saying yes to everything that comes their way, what they're really trying to do is actually be liked. They're afraid of upsetting the status quo or whatever. And I can tell you that that way, or that approach to life, is not really very effective, because that person ends up giving away a lot of their free time that they didn't have to. They become resentful later because they don't have the time to get the things done that they need to. And they're not taking time to take care of themselves because they're so busy trying to please everybody else. And when that occurs, what ends up happening is we feel angst, turmoil, upset, and then what happens from there? So a lot of people end up eating over feelings like that as opposed to actually dealing with them. But I would contend that a lot of that emotional upset can be avoided by just being more authentic and real with the people around you. And what I mean by that is that it's okay to speak your mind. It's okay to say no. But more importantly, it's just okay to be the person you are instead of constantly trying to maybe reformulate your approach with other people by constantly saying yes. Now, I want to share with you an example, because this happens to me at times, where I think if I share this with you, what ends up coming out of it is you can see that we all go through these things, and maybe how I handled it as opposed to eating over it, or in other cases, drinking over it, or in someone else's cases, using drugs over it, okay? I had a client come in who was shutting me down. And what I mean by that, it wasn't purposeful. It was just that every time I went to give the person the next lesson in the process of self-change, her abrupt style was to shut me down. So for example, I went to go ahead and show her the concept of better bad choices, and immediately as soon as I brought that up, her response was, I don't eat those kind of foods. Oh, okay. And as I tried to further back into it, no, you don't need to go over that. I know that. I don't eat those kind of foods. Again, as a clinician, my job is to help people. I'm an educator. And in that moment, I felt shut down, but I didn't say anything. The next session, as I wanted to approach another subject matter, I was immediately shut down. And what I wanted to show this person was the value of adding more variety into your eating program. And the moment I said, let me show you how to add more variety into your program, she immediately said, oh, I don't need that. I'm an amazing cook. That's okay. I'm a great cook. And so again, it shut me down from the standpoint that I set that material aside and went on to something else. In our third session, I wanted to show her something about her proportion and symmetry cycle, that if she's going to go to the gym, while we're getting her leaner, I felt there were certain body parts that she doesn't want to overdevelop, and there were other body parts that she should develop to make her body look more complete by the time we get to the end of her leaning down. Immediately, once I started to show her the material, she said, I have an amazing coach. She's a trainer. She's one of the best. And again, immediately shut me down. Now, when I came home, I really didn't like the way these sessions were going. And I actually turned to Kim and I said, Kim, listen, I think I'm going to have to fire this client. When I fire somebody, it's done with kindness, and it's usually because they're just not trying. And out of kindness, I'll say, look, come back when you're ready. I don't think you're ready. Let's do this at another time when you feel more committed to the process. But in this case, what I felt was I wasn't being allowed to be a great clinician. And it was really bothering me because I don't want to give somebody half of me when we're sitting in front of each other when I'm trying to help them. I want them to have 100% of the Keith Klein experience. And in this moment, as I was talking to Kim, I was frustrated. It really bothered me that I wasn't doing my best work. It bothered me that I was actually allowing the client to dictate what direction the sessions would go in, as opposed to what direction they really needed to go in order to help her. And so I really struggled with that, and I actually dreaded seeing her the next time. However, I want to share with you how I handle it. So there's some upset on my part, and I realized that I'm not doing the best that I can do for this particular client. So when she sat down, she immediately told me about a major binge she had on chocolate that lasted 3 days, which could have been radically altered had she listened to me in the first few sessions, right? So I looked up at her and I said, listen, I've got to tell you something. I don't think you and I have the same communication style. It doesn't make you or I right or wrong, it just means that we communicate differently. And this sort of set her back a little bit. She said, okay, right? Like she's anticipating an argument from her husband or something. I said, look, I want you to know that what you're doing to lose weight, you could do with anybody. You could go find a trainer that's going to put you on a diet. She was having amazing results, by the way. She's losing weight very rapidly, but that's not what my interest is in. So I told her that she could do this with anybody. Anybody could put her on a diet and she could follow it. But my concern for her was that when we try to speak to one another, she shuts me down. And she said, I do that to a lot of people. She said, I've been told that by a lot of people. And I said, well, listen, I don't think you do it deliberately. In fact, I know you don't. But I want you to know that if we're going to move forward, I can't continue to see you under the current way I've been seeing you these last 3 sessions. Because my big concern for you is that you're going to have a major relapse. I know you'll lose the weight. But I also know, I'm absolutely convinced you'll gain it all back. And that's what bothers me. I didn't want her to come see me and not get the full experience of what I had to offer her. And so I had to be very authentic in that moment and just tell her how I was feeling. See, if I'm inauthentic, I suppress it, I don't acknowledge it, and that leads to other problems in my future, more angst and turmoil, right? But I felt that once I addressed it with her and we communicated about it, the great thing was she acknowledged it. You know, immediately she said, you're absolutely right. You know, I do that to a lot of people and I apologize. And now what's really cool is that since we're now on the same page, I said, would you mind if we back up and go over the materials that I've been neglecting to share with you because I was feeling shut down? And she said, absolutely, I understand. I really appreciate you telling me this. See, again, if I'm authentic, I want to discuss this with the person to get it out, to be real and to be honest. Now, I have no control how that other person's going to react or respond to it, right? I was fully prepared that she could get up out of the chair, storm out of my office, and tell everybody what a horrible counselor I was. I was prepared for that in order to save my authenticity. Because what I couldn't do was continue going forward in this relationship with this client if I was being inauthentic and not really giving her my best. So the point of this discussion today is, are you being authentic in all your relationships? Because trust me, it's easier to be open and honest with people and tell them the way you feel than it is to keep it caught up inside with the level of angst and turmoil that continues to accumulate every time you run into that person. You know, so I would encourage you all to think about today, as we're moving through the process of self-change with our bodies, am I being authentic enough in my relationships that I can also be walking in congruence, right? You don't want to be incongruent, right? Where you're expressing yourself one way, which totally goes against how you really are, because that's pain and turmoil. But you want to live a life of congruence. And when you do that, you find that you have greater harmony and peace throughout your life. So I just wanted to share that thought with you. I don't know if it helps any of you or not. If you like this kind of info, I will continue doing this. I decided, Elizabeth and I and Chuck talked, that I need to pop on here with a little bit more live information, which I'm happy to do. I'm going to try to do it once a week or so. And if you find it helpful, please let me know. If you don't, that's okay. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Just be authentic with me, right? So everybody, I want to thank you so much for participating in Lean Body Coaching. I've had a tremendously fun time, not only building this with Chuck, Elizabeth, Simon, and Lee, but also with all of your responses to the program. And if you also, I want you to know, be very authentic, that if you're struggling with some part of this program, don't hesitate to reach out to me or the coaches. That's what we're there for. Until next time, everybody, have a great day. Bye-bye.